Standing talking in front of such an illustrious audience where there's doctors and psychologists and psychiatrists and amazing things reminds me of the time Jim Rohn was actually speaking at a psychiatrist convention, and he went, "Do you know what messes with the mind?" And you could see all the psychiatrists going, "What messes with the mind, Mr. Rohn?" And he said that it was not living according to your full potential, not achieving your full potential. So I'm someone that stands here today, and I don't know a lot about history. In other words, you guys look at the present and you look at the past and you go, okay, so you had these traumas in your life, how do we fix you? I'm the guy that looks at the present and looks at the future and goes, okay, so what are we going to do to help you find a path to get from where you are to where you want to go? So I'm not going to talk into your area of speciality, I'm going to talk into mine. So basically, the first thing I want to do is I want to tell you about the brain. No, this is true about the brain. The brain starts to work. It works 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. And it starts to work from before you're born till the moment you fall in love. Then it stops. But in reality, what is our brain? Our brain is just really a vessel. And what it does is it takes in a whole lot of information and it keeps us safe. And the unfortunate reality is yes, we live in this new 20th century and we're not pursued by saber-toothed tigers, but our brains are still set up to keep us safe. So we still have this intrinsic fear. And for example, standing up here right now, do you know that death, people would rather, death comes in at 3 if I'm not mistaken, drowning comes in at 5. Public speaking is the #1 fear in people's lives. So theoretically, you would rather, I came into your house, snuck into your bedroom with a bowl of water, put your head in the bowl of water and drowned you till you were dead, than exchange places with me right now. But the truth is that fear real? Of course it's not real. And our brains are really vessels that try to keep us safe, and they also take information, whatever information we give, and they create our future. So if we're going to dwell in the negative, because let's be honest, as we're growing up, all our caregivers, all our people that really want the best for us, our coaches, our teachers, our parents, they tell us no 30 times more than the word yes. Up until the age we turn 17. And to add to that, we've got this brain that's trying to keep us safe. So we're looking around our environment and we're looking for danger all the time. Have you ever driven down the M3 and seen the most magnificent sunset? How often have you seen a traffic jam? Have you driven down the M3 and seen an accident in the 3rd lane on the other side of the highway? You've seen a traffic jam. Now I have been training myself and I've been telling myself, do not look at the accident. But how's my brain programmed? My brain's programmed to say to me, there might be danger there. So what do? Okay, I look at the danger. I don't look at the beautiful sunset because that's not danger. But I should be. You know what I'm saying? So what you need to understand is our brains are set up to be negative. They're set up to keep us safe. So if we're only going to focus on the negative, what are we setting up for our future? Because how does our brain actually work? Well, our brain's simple. It creates thoughts. Our thoughts create expectation, and our expectation are the drivers of our creative experience. And our creative experience creates our reality. So let's take a step back and say, okay, let's be our usual, normal, negative self. Let's be looking in our environment for things that are endangering us. And let's assume, because we've heard it 30 times more, we heard no 30 times more than we've heard yes in our lives, let's think negative. So what are we doing? We're setting a negative trend in our brain. Our brains, our thoughts, create our expectations. Expectations are negative. Our expectations set about our creative energy. Our creative energy creates our reality. And then we wonder why we land up living lives that are not fulfilling, they're not meaningful, and they're not aligned with where we want to be. So how do we fix that? Well, it's called focusing on what's working. Because I don't believe there's anybody in the room here right now that can say to me, there's nothing working in my life. And if there isn't, you need to find something that is. And then you need to change your focus, because remember, your thoughts create your expectations. So if you are looking at positive and you're looking at things that are working in your life and you're allowing that to create your expectations, those expectations are going to be the drivers of your creativity, and that creativity is going to manifest in a reality that you want. So that's what I'm asking you to do today, is to try to change, because ultimately the thoughts you have are a choice. We choose the thoughts that we have. So I'm saying choose different thoughts. Choose thoughts that are aligned with being positive. And how do we do that? Well, we choose thoughts that are aligned with being positive by focusing on what's working. In other words, gratitude. Be grateful for what's working in your life. Because when you focus on what's working in your life, you're creating positive thoughts. Positive thoughts manifest into expectation. Expectation manifests into creation, which manifests into your reality. And that's how you create the future that you want. So what I want you to do is, I want you to have a look at this slide. Long time ago, there was a little boy. And he lived in a really, really derelict home. Had an alcoholic father. They used to share meals with the neighbors. And every now and again, a man used to arrive with a little clipboard with a pink piece of paper on it. And they would stand at the door, and the workers would carry the furniture out, and the man would mark on the little piece of paper as the furniture left. And that little boy used to sit there in an empty house with an empty tummy and hope that the neighbors would be considerate that night and come and share meals with him. The only reason they never ever lost the home was because the home belonged to the grandparents. And that little boy used to sit on the pavement, he used to watch the fast cars, he used to watch the beautiful cars driving past, driving to the life that he wanted. And he started to think about what he wanted to create in his future. He started to get the picture of what he wanted his future to look like. And he focused his thoughts on that. And his energy started to focus not on the negative, the life where he was living, but focusing on the life where he wanted to go. Those positive thoughts created positive energy, created the things in his life that moved him towards the man that's standing in front of you right now. Because that little boy was me. So your positive thoughts can create. We are creators of our experience. And if you prepare to start believing, because in the old days, what did we used to say? We used to say, you know what, Andrew, when I see it, I'll believe it. But it's changed now. Now it is, when I believe it, I will achieve it. Do you know what the Olympic world record is for the deadlift for women? I don't know it in kilograms, but it's 502 pounds, okay? Deadlift for women, 502 pounds. A trained Olympic athlete. Maury Payton, a 63-year-old grandmother living in America, was driving one of these drive-along mowers, not the one you sit on, the one you push. And the mower pulled out of her hands. And it wasn't a major crisis. She was an elderly lady, so it was a bit of a, she was walking after it to get it to switch it off. And her grandchild, little Alfie, thought, you know what, I'll run and stop it for Granny. And tried to stand in front of the lawnmower, and the lawnmower knocked little Alfie over. And the lawnmower was still running, and it was going to shred that child. Maury covered about 10 steps, grabbed hold of a 300-pound lawnmower, tossed it out the way like it was a piece of plastic. What is possible? The Olympic world record, 502 pounds for a deadlift. The next morning when Maury went out to the garden, she couldn't even move that lawnmower. Angela Cavallo in the US as well. Her son was working underneath the car, a 1964 Impala Chevrolet. You know how big those cars are, those things are massive. And the car fell off the jack on top of his chest. She heard the screaming and she ran outside. She grabbed hold of the car and she lifted it off him and held it off him for 5 minutes. while the neighbors came and they quickly put the jack back underneath. The Olympic world record, 502.6 pounds. They estimate that she held 1,200 pounds with her child for 5 minutes. What is possible for us? If we believe it, we can achieve it. So I'm asking you today to change the way you look at your lives and stop saying, when I see it, I will believe it. Change. If you want the world to change, what can you change? You can't change the president easily. You can't change interest rates. But you can change one thing. And that one thing is you. So change the way you look at things, and the things you look at will change. So if you start thinking positive thoughts, you start setting the trend, you start setting the tone for what you want your future to look like, exactly that is going to unfold. So, where can I start? Everybody going, well, you know, my life's different. Andrew doesn't know my life. Okay? I'm in a bad place. It's really hard for me. Really? How much worse can it be than sitting in a jungle, captured by freedom fighters, do we call them? Is that politically correct? Terrorists? Okay? Does anyone remember Kali Monique Stratham? I had the privilege, the honor of meeting her the other day. I was emceeing an event where she was the headline speaker. What an amazing woman. There they were, trapped in a jungle, infested with mosquitoes and all sorts of diseases, and between them, they had to share a small bowl of rice. That's all they had to eat. Great diet, ladies. I highly recommend it. She came back. Brilliant diet plan. Works like a charm. But what did she do? She never sat back and said, I'm a victim. And some of them did. There was a whole group of them. If I'm not mistaken, I think it was 27 people. There were some of them in the group that were victims, and they went, this is too hard and I can't cope. And that's a choice, isn't it? I can choose that. I can choose to be a victim, or I can choose to be a victor. Because we have some choices in life, and the choice is, events happen. If you've got two kids and they're on a roller coaster ride, one is an adrenaline junkie that can't get enough of the fear and being out of control, and the other one is terrified of the ride. They get on the ride and the ride takes off and it goes and it does its thing and comes back. Same event. You've got two totally different experiences. You've got one kid jumping up and down, excited out of their bracket that this is a most wonderful thing that just happened. Someone else whose knees are shaking that could barely stand. Okay? So everything in life is a choice. Monique chose to stand in front of the camera for her family at home and to laugh and to joke and to keep her spirits up. She kept that going for the entire duration. I think it was just over 6 months, 267 days. Longer than almost a year they were in captivity. It was a difficult time, but she chose, she made a different choice. So that's pretty tough, isn't it? She came back and she decided that she was going to make a difference in other people's lives. And now, what she does is she goes around, and I think a third or a half of everything she earns goes into her fund for charity. Amazing woman, amazing story. There are incredible stories out there. We all joke about people from Benoni, don't we? I mean, Benoni, count your fingers, count your toes, okay? But we've got two ladies from Benoni that have done pretty good. One Charlene and another one Charlize, all right? Why not you? I mean, they came from Benoni. Why not you? So if they can come from Benoni and you come from, I don't know, wherever. Does anybody know what that is? An acorn. An acorn. Now, if I hold this acorn in my hand, those of you at the back, I've really got an acorn in my hand. You can see it. And I say to you, if I take this acorn and I cut it in half, but before I do that, I say to you, where is the oak tree? Okay, that's the question. Where is the oak tree? Is it inside the acorn? Okay, now that's where I get to the part where I cut it open. I cut it open, and I hold it up like this, and I say, what do you see? Do you see an oak tree? Or do you see two seeds? So what do you really see? What does this thing contain? This contains the potential to grow into an oak tree. And not only an oak tree, but let's think about this acorn. When I plant it in fertile soil and I give it moisture and I allow the sun's energy to come down on it, and out pops this amazing tree. How big does that oak tree grow? This big?
Huge.
How wide does it stretch its branches? This wide? Or does it grow as tall as it can, stretches its branches as wide as it can? In other words, it realizes its full potential. So why do we allow ourselves to have this thing that we call our self-imposed comfort zone? And note, I say self-imposed. You have decided that's what it is. You tell yourself. Society, those teachers, those coaches, those parents, they told you no, 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 have made it this. What is it? It's that. So what I want you to start to do today is to start to see that 502 pounds is what a trained athlete thinks they can do. But a grandmother can hold 1,200 pounds of her child for 5 minutes. Start to believe, and you can achieve. Open your mind. The more you open your mind, the more you start to believe what is possible. Remember what I said, your thoughts create your expectations. What are your expectations? Your expectations are your comfort zone. I can only achieve this. Do you believe that it is possible for somebody to exceed their own expectations? Very unlikely. So if you only have expectations that this is who I am and this is what I'm capable of, that's what you're going to remain. But that's what you're really capable of. So open your mind today. How many seconds do you think someone like Donald Trump has in a day? 86,400. Richard Branson? And you? What is the difference between what they get done and what you get done? Belief. They believe in what they can do. They focus, they prioritize. They don't waste their time on doing things that are not the best use of their available time. So that's the commitment you need to start making. Commit to take your seed, your potential, to plant it, to nourish it, to feed it, give it the skills, the abilities, absolutely everything that it needs to allow it to flourish and to grow and to become the best version of yourself possible. Note I said the best version of yourself. I never said I want you to go out there, be the best, be the best. Oh no. Be the best you possible. Because you are the most amazing, unique, incredible person with unbelievable potential to achieve, have, do, and be anything you want to have, do, and be if you just create thought. Do you know that a single thought can change the direction of your life completely? You can change your health. You can change your wealth. You can change the relationship, the quality of your relationships with a single thought. Because that's all it ever has. So make the choice today. What thoughts am I going to think? Because your thoughts are creating your future. Do you need to go and visit one of these crystal ball gazing ladies? Or sit under a pyramid and chant? Or throw bones to tell your future? How do you think you do it? You write it yourself. You get a picture in your brain. This room. Where do you think this room started? This building. Where did it start? It was a thought. It was a single thought in somebody's brain. Somebody then took that thought and they created a blueprint. That blueprint was handed to builders who built this magnificent building. So what's different about your life? If you can create that picture, that vision of this, or whatever that vision may be. And then you go about creating a blueprint, building a plan to take you from where you are to that picture. Follow that blueprint. Get yourself to where you want to go. Why not you? If that thought could now be manifested in a building that we're all sitting in at the moment, why can't your thought, the picture that you create of that magnificent future, be turned into a blueprint? Be turned into the future that you actually want. So how do you get to foretell your future? You get to foretell your future by writing it yourself. By thinking positive thoughts, by taking positive actions day after day after day. That little boy that lived in Primrose, he never saw himself living in Primrose. He saw himself living a magnificent life as a very successful businessman. And that's what happened. But don't think that you're going to have an all beautiful life and everything's going to be magnificent and you're just going to hop and skip through the roses. Life is filled with challenges. The thing that separates the super achievers from the average people that choose to remain in the herd is the super achievers experience the challenges, they've actually anticipated them, expected them, planned for them, and they actually use them to grow, to become more. Has anybody here read a lot of biographies? I love biographies. Winston Churchill, do you know how many times that man failed? He was 65 years of age when he became Prime Minister of the UK. He'd been through a whole lot of difficulties in his life. In fact, why do we remember Winston Churchill? We remember Winston Churchill because he was the leader when Britain was facing the most difficult times of their lives. So, when do you grow the most? You grow the most when you face challenge. So anticipate it, expect it. Believe that challenge is going to come your way. There's no such thing. It's impossible to have a one-sided positive magnet. And just the same, it is impossible to have a one-sided positive life. And now, I'm going to make that statement. I believe that it is our unrealistic expectations as a society that life will only be positive. That when we are faced with any negative in our lives, we are traumatized that causes most of you to have jobs. If we are realistic and we believe that life is both good and bad, ups and downs, when the downs or the challenges or the roadblocks cross our path, we go, okay, what can I learn from it? Because we can view our lives in two ways. We can see everything in our lives as being on our way. Or we can be like the average person and we look at everything that goes on and we see it as in our way. Do you know that there's a time of the week when most coronary heart attacks happen, and you probably know what time that is? Monday morning at 9:30. Now there's no physiological reason for that to happen, but it does. Why? Because we hate our lives so much that we beat ourselves up on Sunday and we see this as being in our way. I can't go to work tomorrow. And our heart attacks us on a Monday morning. I don't get it, okay? But all we need to do is the same events are going on in our lives every single day. We can choose to view them as it's in our way. And am I going to get through my week? And am I going to get through the month? And am I going to get through my life? Does that sound like a life you want to be living? Or do we just look at the same event? And we look at that event and we go, this is on my way. It's on my way to that future. Because what have I got? I've got that clear picture. I've had that thought. I've built the picture of this building, which is my future. And I'm headed towards that. I have a blueprint. Do you think when they were building this building, they didn't hit any glitches? Do you think it went without any problems? But the building's here. So do you think your life, you've got, you know where it is, you've got your blueprint. Do you think that you're going to have it smooth sailing all the way? Well, you won't. But you think you can still get there? Of course. And that's the secret that you need to keep in the back of your mind all the time. As long as I'm focusing on where I'm going, nothing's going to stop me. Henry Ford said, we do not see obstacles in our path as long as we keep focused on our goals. So keep looking, know what that vision is, know where you want to go, have the picture of this building in your mind. Of course there's going to be issues, of course there's going to be challenges. You expect them. You don't need to go and see a psychiatrist because you had a challenge. Okay, I'm stepping on very thin ice here. But what you do need to do is, you need to accept that you are going to have challenges. You are going to have, listen, you can't wake up every day of your life throwing your hand in the air going, I am the happiest person in the world. But we expect that. Unrealistic expectations are what cause most of the stress in our lives. So if we can start getting realistic expectations, focusing on the future, having a blueprint to take us from one to the other, we have created a magnificent blueprint for a very, very happy, successful, wonderful life.